Good morning. Welcome back to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we will be reading Deuteronomy chapter 25. If there be a controversy between men, and they come unto judgment, that the judges may judge them, then they shall justify the righteous and condemn the wicked. And it shall be, if the wicked man be worthy to be beaten, that the judge shall cause him to lie down, and to be beaten before his face, according to his fault, by a certain number. 40 stripes he may give him, and not exceed, lest, if he should exceed, and beat him above these with many stripes, then thy brother should seem vile unto thee. Thou shalt not muzzle the ox when he treadeth out the corn. If brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her, and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her. And it shall be, that the firstborn, which she beareth, shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up unto the gate, unto his elders. And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate unto the elders, and say, My husband's brother refuseth to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Then the elders of his city shall call him, and speak unto him. And if he stand to it, and say, I like not to take her, then shall his brother's wife come unto him in the presence of the elders, and loose his shoe from off his foot, and spit in his face, and shall answer and say, So shall it be done unto that man that will not build up his brother's house. And his name shall be called in Israel, the house of him that hath his shoe loosed. When men strive together, one with another, and the wife of the one draweth near for to deliver her husband out of the hand of him that smiteth him, and putteth forth her hand, and taketh him by the secrets, then thou shalt cut off her hand, thine eye shall not pity her. Thou shalt not have in thy bag diverse weights, a great and a small. Thou shalt not have in thine house diverse measures, a great and a small. But thou shalt have a perfect and just weight, a perfect and just measure shalt thou have, that thy days may be lengthened in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. For all that do such things, and all that do unrighteously, are an abomination unto the Lord thy God. Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way, when ye were come forth out of Egypt, how he met thee by the way, and smote the hindmost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou wast faint and weary, and he feared not God. Therefore it shall be, when the Lord thy God hath given thee rest from all thine enemies round about, in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven, thou shalt not forget it. Summarizing Deuteronomy chapter 25, Moses continues his extended address to Israel, establishing laws that will become the foundation of the Israelite kingdom. Verses 1 through 3. If a conflict arises to the point that judges need to be involved, the righteous should be justified and the wicked condemned. If the wicked man warrants a beating, have him lie down and be beaten with no more than 40 stripes. Any beating that a person is given more than 40 stripes, that would be considered degrading the person, and it would no longer be punishment. It would be then abuse. Verse 4, you shall not muzzle an ox when it is treading out the grain. So we know treading or to tread. Tread is the root word, ing is the suffix. So that's why when you type it in, sometimes just the root word would come up, because ing doesn't necessarily add to what the definition of the word is. Ing just lets you know that it's an active, the word is active in the sentence. So the word tread means to step on, to beat or press with the feet, to trample. That's probably what, and there, of course, the term at the top encompasses all of the entries beneath it. But we see that what would make most sense in the sentence, if you remove that word and you place one of these entries in, to beat or press with the feet sounds most likely or most reasonable. So what this is saying is when the ox is pushing seed into the ground, Don't put a face covering, because we know a muzzle is the face covering. Uh, Silence of the Lambs, if you've ever seen that movie with Hannibal, uh, well, Anthony Hopkins was portraying Hannibal Lecter, but he was wearing a muzzle. um, Actually, speaking of lamb, my childhood nickname is Lamb, which is why I have lamb lights. I have multiple lamb things in my life. It doesn't really relate to this, so let's just move on. Verse 4 says, when an ox is being used to work to press seed into the ground, don't put a face covering on him just to prevent him from eating. Verses 5 through 10. If brothers are dwelling together, if they live together, and one of them dies and has no son, the wife of the dead man cannot marry a stranger. The husband's brother will take her as his wife. If they have a first child together, that child would be named for the dead man. It's because I wrote something here, but sometimes I write things that help me. I don't think that needs to be said. Numbers chapter 27 with the five daughters, and then Numbers chapter 36 when those men were concerned about the five daughters. I guess the reason why I would write that is to say that the reason why why this idea is being presented here is so that the woman doesn't go without being cared for, because we know that in this culture it is not customary for women to work, to receive their own wages, or to inherit property. So having them marry is a way for them to have some financial stability, and that just something to be aware of as a woman. And how, when you look at society, do you feel like that's changed? If so, if you see some problems that might arise from that, this isn't information as a woman to get upset about. It's to understand that your culture most likely will reflect some of the stuff that you see and hear. And when you start picking apart details, you can be a bit more selective about what things you allow in your own life. Going through a difficult work like this, it helps you to develop critical thinking skills, and it's like a muscle. So now you're able to filter information much better. And now when you're dealing with men, not only do you have your spiritual guide, not only are you talking to God, but you can listen to what he says and pick apart through that information. And even if you get distracted, it won't take you very long to discern. Nobody's perfect, and we can all get distracted. Okay, so verses 5 through 10. If brothers live together, the dead man's wife must marry the brother. The first child will be named for the dead man. And if the brother that is living does not want to marry the dead brother's wife, they have to go through a ceremony. So they need to go to the elders. The man needs to tell the elders that he doesn't want to marry her. He doesn't want to participate in this tradition. In the presence of the elders, this woman will spit in his face, pull off his shoe, and will declare that this man refused to build up his brother's house. His name shall be called the house of him that hath his shoe loosed. I did not look up why having the shoe loosed is offensive. I'm pretty sure during that time, I wouldn't want my shoe loose now, so that's unpleasant, but I'm not sure. Oh, I live around somebody who is so irritating every day. Every day, this person with this loud muffler just drives back and forth, back and forth. Irritating. Okay, so now, so we've just discussed the ceremony where The dead man's brother is supposed to marry the widow, and now the brother doesn't want to marry the widow, so they're going to go and tell the elders, and she's going to spit in his face, loose his shoe. So now we're done. Verses 11 through 12. If men are fighting, and the wife of one grabs the other man by his privates, her hand should be cut off without pity. So two men are fighting. The woman wants to jump in, which a woman should never jump in to the conflict of men. She should never jump in. She should never insert herself, especially if there's a physical altercation. The most you should do is make disparaging comments, but even then, that should be limited in private. But no, don't listen to that. You shouldn't make disparaging comments. I'm unmarried, so my advice, that's what advice is coming from. You should, if you want to be married, because I want to be married, we should listen to women that are married, not women that are unmarried like me. I even had a guy ask me to just leave the date because he said I was being mean to him. But it wasn't just being mean. He lied to me about multiple things that I found out when I got on the date. And because I wouldn't ignore it, then he was like, well, you're being really mean to me. Can you just leave? But I just got my drink. So I was like, okay, I'll leave. But can I finish my drink first? And I mean, it was uncomfortable, but like I already put my makeup on and drove out there. So I shouldn't also have to not have my drink. But that was a long time ago. I have developed into a better woman. Verses 13 through 16. Do not have different weights or measures in your bag or home. Have just measures. Anyone who does this is unrighteous. So think about this, maybe flour or oil or some other sort of liquid, milk. So if you have different weights, what this is just saying is have a full, fair weight. Don't try to have a large weight for some things, small weight for some things, and play with measures of things. This is during a society where, capitalism isn't quite what it is now. So it would be likely to go to someone's home and borrow some flour, borrow some eggs from your neighbor. Verse 17. Remember how Amalek attacked when you were weak and feeble. This land is given to you so you can rest, but do not forget their viciousness. So what this is referring to is Exodus chapter 17. Israel was looking for water, and then they were viciously attacked by Amalek. This was the chapter, Exodus chapter 17, when Moses held up his arms over Israel as they were fighting, and he had to get assistance to help him hold his arms with the rod over them so that it would encourage them to win. And they did win. That is all I have for Deuteronomy chapter 25. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. I love you. Have a wonderful day.